You're listening to Barbell Logic, brought to you by Barbell Logic Online Coaching, where each week we take a systematic walk through strength training and the refining power of voluntary hardship.
Welcome to Barbell Logic. I'm Scott Hambrick, and I got my mentor and co-host here, Matt Reynolds.
Heyo. Yeah, we get a ton of feedback. By the way, if you've thought about giving feedback and you haven't given feedback, whether it's by review or by an email, the emails make our day. When you send us an email and you tell us that you love the podcast. And, you know, I also love good, solid criticism. For those of you guys that are asking like, hey, can you do a podcast on this? Can you do a podcast on that? That's fine. We'd love to hear it.
Yep.
I can tell you right now, we got a list of about 110 podcasts that we're planning on doing. So, you know, we're planners. And so this is a systematic progression of strength training, which means that we're starting at the very beginning, the most simple things. Those of you guys that are waiting for the intermediate and advanced sort of stuff, it's coming.
It's coming.
But we've got to get through the simple stuff first. And so we're kind of getting towards the end of novice stuff and intermediates. So what are we talking about today?
Well, common pitfalls for novices. You know, like we said, we're trying to do this.
Common pitfalls in general for novice and early intermediates as well.
Yeah.
So if you're an intermediate, these are also things that we see out of you guys. But as you start to end, pitfalls don't occur in the first 6 weeks of linear progression.
No.
You should know how to perform the movements and things like that. But we're going to go through where we actually start to see people end LP early, when we start to see people get into Texas method, old man Texas method, heavy, light, medium, 4-day splits, and they're not making progress on it.
Right.
These are the reasons why. This is what we've seen. And by the way, we've sat down and talked through this. This is the stuff that we've seen, but we've got an incredible pool that we can pull from to go like, this is what we've seen. Like we actually have a pretty good group of people that we can pull stats from now. So we know where people struggle.
How many people do you think that you've actually run through, you know, you're at Strong and all that. How many think you put through linear progression?
Me personally?
Yeah.
So I would say I have put about 200 through myself. And then, of course, I put for 10 years, I was at high school strength coach. So I probably put another maybe 800.
Right.
And then at Strong, probably, you know, and then a couple hundred. So I'm 1,500 maybe. I probably put 1,500 people through it by myself. You know, probably not 2,000 and definitely over 1,000. So
yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Whatever, bro.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well. Yeah, so the common pitfalls, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and go say what the first one is. We talked about it. We debated whether to put this at the end. Reynolds was like, no, it's the primary one. And if this is the only thing we talked about in this particular show, it'd probably be enough. It's their form is f***ed up.
Yeah, here's the deal. Every single person that signs up with online coaching has messed up form.
Sure.
It's so rare that somebody posts and you're like, let me tell you. So of all of the people I've signed up, by the way, I coach probably, I think 10 coaches. I personally coach 10 coaches. All of their form is f***ed up.
Right.
Except for Peter Nathan. Now, here's the point. You think your form is good.
Right.
It's not good.
Right.
My form's not good. Your form's not good. Like, this is why we watch each other. Like, I coach you. I coach your wife. My favorite thing to do when we go to seminars is to have Nikki Sims and Michael Wolf and Jordan Feigenbaum and those people coach me.
Wolf's form's good.
So, yeah, Wolf has got great form. He does have great form. But it's awesome to have somebody's eyes on you. So if you don't have a coach, your form is probably shitty and it needs to be better. And the very first thing I do when somebody signs up is we have them perform a test workout where they work up to a heavy set of 5 with a weight they could do for a set of 8. And they perform it and they upload their videos to us and we look at it. And the videos tell there is massive amounts of form creep. Now, so that this doesn't turn into a commercial, let me be clear. Really, you have 3 options for fixing your form. Option number 1, go see a strength coach in person. That's the best option.
Yep, it is.
It's a better option than signing up for online coaching.
One of my online clients lives in like one of the Dakotas, and we've been working, you know, and it's slowly getting better and slowly getting better. And he said, hey, man, I'm going to drive down to Oklahoma on the 11th, and we're going to train.
Yep.
Well, we're going to fix him. I'm going to lay hands on him like Oral Roberts, and we're going to fix him. And I have no doubt in my mind he's going to fix him.
Yeah.
It's slowly getting better, but we're going to short circuit that, and he's going to be good like that day.
Yeah, there are really good responders with online coaching. There are people that struggle a little bit with online coaching. When I get a client that struggles, immediately I'm like, we got to find somebody for you to go see.
Yeah.
Right. When you go on a vacation next, when you go on a business trip, like if they're, 10 hours away from, or like, and I've had lots of guys that drive, I've had a guy drive down from Michigan. I've had people drive down from Chicago. I get Omaha, all that kind of stuff. And so most of you have a starting strength coach within 4 or 5 hours of you.
I'm the best one to come see because like Matt, this guy's name's Matt too. He's going to come down. We're going to train. We're going to go out eat and we're going to go to a burlesque show.
Oh, are you for real?
Yeah.
I'm not fully aware of how dirty. Is a burlesque show dirty or is it like classy dirty?
It's not classy, but it may not be dirty.
Is
I
it
mean,
like,
it depends on where you go, right?
like it's like wholesome family nudity? Would you take your daughter?
No.
Okay. How old should you be to go to one of those things?
Oh, I mean, me, I would have been fine at 14.
But your daughter's not.
right.
Right. Okay.
A lot of innuendo, right? There's probably
Yeah,
like
okay, get it.
some weird drag stuff.
Okay,
You know,
get
it's fun though. Like
Yeah.
we're all grown ups.
Yes, there's no 14-year-olds.
That's right.
So, number one reason that people struggle, fail in the linear progression or in early intermediate, so whatever the first thing you do after linear progression, is that your form sucks, which means you need to have somebody look at your form, which means you need to go see somebody in person. If you can't see somebody in person because you're a client who lives in Tunisia,
right?
Which we have,
right?
Then you need an online coach to watch your videos, right? If you are a 19-year-old kid who can't afford it, online coaching, I understand there are 19-year-old kids who can't afford it. At the very least, you should be videoing all of your own sets.
Yep.
Right. It's not that hard to video yourself and compare it.
You have to do it.
And see, it will develop your own eye, take your emotions out of it and see, is my form line up with what other people are doing? And if it looks like it doesn't, then there's a problem. And you might not understand why, and that will develop over time, but you need to at least do that, right? By the way, a lot of us, even in online coaching, if you have to reach out and you need us to just give you a form check, a lot of online coaches, a lot of the coaches for cheap, probably for something, you're going to throw them a few bones, or a bottle of whiskey or whatever.
Right. Cheaper than a session. Well, depends what you get.
Yeah, we can lay out that stuff. So form is huge. You've got to make sure your form is right first. And when I see right, I don't mean 100% right, because it's almost rarely.
They're never 100% right.
But if it's not within 90% correct, we have a problem.
Right. So if your form's 80% there and you squat, your first session's 85 pounds, you go up and get to 135 and it's going fine. You can get up to 245, 83% ain't good enough. You're going to crap your pants and you're going to say linear progression's over.
That's right.
You're going to ask yourself the three questions, right? Am I taking appropriate jumps? Am I resting? Am I eating? Or go, yeah, I guess I'm out of LP.
Yeah.
Well,
no, your form's not right.
Your form's not right and you're still not out.
Yep.
So
I had a kid that came out here not long ago. I won't say his name, and he's probably listening to the podcast, but fixed his form, cleaned up his form really well, and then didn't hear anything. He's broke, young college kid. Yep. Didn't hear anything from him or see anything from him for a couple months. And he sent me a video and said, man, I just can't. Something's going wrong on my squat. He sent me a video. Scott, it was the most up squat I've ever seen in my life. And this guy was clearly intelligent. We had talked, I'd taken him out to lunch.
Has nothing to do with it.
But I wanted to be like, wait, you've seen this video, right? Can you not identify what's wrong with this? Like, this is insane.
Well, I'm a motor moron. Like, I can look at it, but I can't translate that for myself into proper motion.
Right.
For myself.
Which
I can't
is
do
fine.
it.
I understand, right? Because most of us are auditory learners and tactile learners before we're visual learners. But
you my squat after the 4th year.
Yeah, I know.
Like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm almost embarrassed about it. It took me that long to kind of like make the adjustments. But, it's just one of those deals. Like, we kept seeing the things. So, like, you rounded your thoracic really, really bad. By the way, some people cannot keep the thoracic back and extension, their upper back and extension.
I can't.
Right? And so what changes did I make to your back? What did we do?
Well, do you want to do all of them?
I feel like there was 2 major steps.
Lately, I've gone thumbs around because I was getting some tendonitis. Went thumbs around the bar and then low, extra low bar squat.
Yeah, so what I saw is that
it's an inch and a half below the spinal scapula.
Yeah, the barbell was rolling up your back. And on rep 1, it was decent. And on rep 2, it was worse. And on rep 3, it was crappy. And rep 4 and 5 were like a disaster. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to either switch this guys to triples, or we got to figure out a way to get the bar below that hunchback. Right. So you got this kyphotic curve in your upper back. So, okay, here's what we're going to do. I want the bar lower. I can't get the bar lower because you're 42, right?
43.
Oh, yeah, 43 from last week. 43 years old, and you've got these crusty shoulders, and you can't get the bar lower and keep your thumbs on top of the bar. So I said, I want the bar a full inch below where it is now, inch and a half lower than it is now. In order to do that, you're going to have to wrap your thumbs in order to get it some of the weight in your hands. Your wrists are going to bend just a little bit when you get you back there. And it was bizarre because like the very first session, you were squatting like 350 for reps and it looked perfect.
Right.
And so
we did that in like 3 weeks. My 5 rep max has gone up 30 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a guy that's been
it just takes the eyes of a coach. And by the way, again, we just talked about this. I had to add it up for a resume. I mean, I've literally coached in person probably not quite 30,000 hours, but really close to 30,000 hours. That's insane. And it still took me that long to kind of look at your squat and go like, okay, I've got to make an adjustment that changes this. You're not going to be able to do that until you go see a coach in person. So see one in person. If you can't see one in person, we'd love to have you hire us. Again, I'm not saying it's the be all end all. If you've got one in person, go get one in person. It's better.
You should do that. And if you can't do any of those things, there's free stuff. I've said it on these other shows. I do an hour's worth of form checks on Sunday mornings at about 10 a.m. Central almost every week. Yep.
Okay, so form. If form is not the issue, if form is within, let's say 90%, it's 90% or above.
Right.
And that's out of the way, which again, I want to be clear. For 95% of you, form is the problem.
Right.
If form is not the problem, for the other 5%.
Yeah, the form has to be fixed before this other stuff crops up.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. The other stuff doesn't even matter until the form is fixed, right? So
the other ones, they're being stingy, right? They haven't bought their fractional plates.
Yeah, so let's start there. So the 3 pieces of equipment that you absolutely must have, non-negotiable, no matter what. I still have tons of people that come in and pay me $200 an hour, and they see me in for an in-person session. I had a guy today, and he showed up in a pair of Nike running shoes.
Yeah. I actually put, I have a gym waiver, and I send that to him, and I tell him you need to bring that with me. I have a cover letter. It has instructions on where to park, all that stuff. And I won't see anybody now anymore. Never again, unless they have shoes.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
What am I going to do? The guy shows up in like these Nike the Nike Flyknit shoe is the worst shoe that was ever made in a factory. Like I'm sure somebody made some homemade shoes once that were worse, but that's the shittiest shoe I've ever seen in my life for any purpose. Yeah. There are probably more ankle injuries because of that shoe than gopher holes. I don't know, but
got to have squat shoes.
You got to get squat shoes. You got to have a belt.
Yep.
And the fractional plates.
Yep.
And you're good to go. So when you have that fractional plate, you can start incrementing your lifts in less than 5 pound increments.
Which you have to do, especially for the press. It doesn't matter, even if you're a big guy.
Right.
If you're a guy who weighs 250 pounds before long, you have to make jumps on your press that are less than 5 pounds.
Yes, a 5 pound jump is a big lift.
That's right. You're going to use 1 1/4, and you're going to jump 2.5 pounds every press session, right? And then after a few weeks of doing that, you're going to make your bench press small jumps as well, right?
And I have some of my guys on my Old Man Texas go up by 2.5 on their squat.
Yeah, on their squat.
Early intermediate guys.
Now, females are going to go up using the fractional plates on all 4 lifts, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't have that, so man, it's really frustrating. I get a lot of guys at this point from the podcast we've done on Art of Manliness and things like that. We've got enough of a following that we actually have quite a few more people signing up. They never have shoes, they never have a belt. Or if they have a belt, it's a Vallejo Velcro belt or a belt that's wide in the back and narrow in the front, and they never have fractional plates. And the problem is that 3 weeks in, they're running out of their LP on their press because they're 3 weeks in and they're making 5 pounds. And I'm talking about super weak, underweight males who at this point they're pressing 90 pounds and they can't go to 95 and then 100. They need to go from 90 to 92.5 to 95 to 97.5, and they don't have it. And so get your fractional plates on a ton of our show notes a million times.
Let me rephrase this. Get your belt.
Yeah.
Go get your shoes. We've gone over shoes. We've got it in getting started on
equipment. Any basic squat shoe will work. Any Adidas will work. Any Nike will work. Those are probably our 2 favorite. The Reeboks are okay. There's some other brands. The Douwins are great. So those are fine. So Douwins, Adidas, Nike. Adidas makes the Powerlift shoe, which is a cheap shoe. A lot of times you can find it for $65, $70. Yeah. Certainly you ought to be able to get it for under $100. My favorite shoe ever is the Power Perfect 2. You can still find those on Amazon. Get some squat shoes. Squat shoes will make a difference instantly.
Instantly.
Squat. Nobody puts on squat shoes and doesn't like the squat shoes.
Everybody racks it and they go, wow, what?
Form is number 1. Equipment is number 2. What's next?
Not eating groceries, man.
Yeah, man.
We could probably look at like the obesity numbers in North America and Europe, and they're probably not as fat, right? And they just probably just don't eat as much. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But man, they just don't. But you've got to eat like you say you have to eat for performance. That's the thing you say a lot.
Yep.
And I tell these people, you're a strength athlete now. You might be a really terrible one, but you're a strength athlete. You have to eat like that. So whatever diet you had that, kept you from being obese when you were just, clicking a mouse 8 hours a day or whatever it was before you started lifting, that's just not going to be adequate. We have to do something different now.
Yeah. So when somebody's sitting there, a software programmer, which you get a lot of.
Engineers.
They're eating to live, to sustain life, to not die.
Yeah. They're a brain in a jar.
Yeah.
They just eat enough food to keep their brain from dying.
Exactly right. And when you become a strength athlete, you have to change your thought process. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't eat for enjoyment. You can eat for enjoyment. It's certainly so if you keep a healthy relationship with food. But in general...
Wait a minute. Do you have a healthy relationship with food?
I think I've struggled with that in the past decade. I think I've got a pretty good, now that I was 269 this morning,
Right.
down from about 302, doing just a standard, if it fits your macros sort of thing. It's made it simple for me. And so it's the most
I
flexible.
hit my all-time
By the way,
high.
if I want to go eat a Hertz donut, which I won't because I don't really want a Hertz donut, but if I want to go get a donut, I can. I just got to make it fit my macros. I just have to, it's a budget every day. Every day I wake up, I got a budget. I get to spend so much money on this. If I blow it all in Chipotle at lunch, I don't get to eat anything at dinner. And so the thing is, what I've learned how to do is, in general, like I eat kind of a low-calorie breakfast and a low-calorie lunch. I keep my protein really high, and I keep my fat really low in the morning, and I keep my carbs kind of moderate. And then at nighttime, it gives me the room to have a little bit of fat, a fair amount of carbs, and a lot of protein. And so, of course, I'm trying to lose weight.
Right.
I've been 300 pounds, and I need to be 242. For those of you guys that weigh 155, you need to go up to 200. You got to make sure you're getting 200 to 250 grams of protein a day. Like, that's a non-negotiable. By the way, that's not hard. I don't want to hear again that eating 200 grams of protein is hard. It is not hard. Any human male can eat 50 grams of protein in one sitting. So if you eat breakfast and it's 50 grams of protein, and let's just say you only eat 30 grams of protein at breakfast because it's like eggs and bacon, which is what you should be eating.
You know what? I don't even know if I even want to describe this. Like, don't try to do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Right. And then
go make a shake, drink it.
That's right. At the end of the day, if you need 200 grams of protein, you've only had 130. You make a 70-gram protein shake before you go to bed.
No, these guys, I talk to them all the time. Oh, I'm trying. Look, don't try.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sip on the shake. Chug it. Chug it. Throw it in the sink and leave.
If you're drinking a shake and it takes longer than 10 seconds, you're doing it wrong.
Absolutely.
You shake it up. You chug it as fast as possible. You rinse it out and you throw it in the dishwasher. That's what you do.
Yeah, I don't know why they care how they feel about it. Like, there's a point where you can't care how you feel about something.
Right.
Like, your intellect has to say, you know what, I need to do this. I expect to squat 305 this Friday, and, I'm behind on my protein.
It's like it's one of the easiest steps of voluntary hardship, right? You shake up a shaker cup of protein.
It tastes like chocolate, by the way.
Did you drink this stuff in 1989? It was terrible.
Liver pills.
Yeah, this stuff is so much better now. You shake it up, you chug it, you're done. Right. And then you still get to enjoy dinner. Like, dinner can still be, ribeye, sirloin steak, whatever, like baked potato or rice or something like that, and good veggies, and it's totally a normal dinner. But you eat breakfast with eggs. You eat lunch with like a big thing of meat, which is usually a lot of times chicken or fish. You eat dinner, which is also either like chicken, fish, or steak. And you have 2 protein shakes a day, and it's 250 grams. Here's the interesting thing. I can't tell you how many days I eat protein, and I'm at 280 accidentally.
Right, yeah.
So I don't comprehend people who can't eat 200 grams of protein. I promise you, my 12-year-old daughter can eat 200 grams of protein a day.
Right.
Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah, and you're not going to get fat. Now I'm going to try to be kinder. Like, I've been mad now.
Time to nurture.
Right. Guys, you got to do it. Like, if you don't do it, your progress is going to stall. You become depressed. I believe that you're more injury prone. I think that guys that have a protein deficit, they tend to get tendonitis more easily. Yeah. That's like anecdotally, it seems to be the case. Sure. Like, I've had older guys that can be like, hey man, turn that protein up. And they do. And they're like, oh, my elbow quit banging.
Yep.
You really need to do it. Like, that you can get under a bar and squat something heavy or deadlift and make your ears ring. So, take that.
Yep.
And use that energy, transmute that into, putting food in your mouth.
Yep.
So you need to get that protein. You also need to get carbs. The carbs fuel our training.
Yeah.
If you're an underweight guy, you need 300, 400, 500 grams of carbs. So eat.
Yeah, not that hard. Next.
They do extra stuff.
Yep.
A little bit's good, a lot's better.
Yeah, can I just run like 3 days a week? I just really enjoy running, and I want to keep it. No, you can't run 3 days a week and make progress at the end of LP or in heavy light medium or old man Texas or Texas or whatever. No. So you don't need accessory work. Look, here's the deal. We'll do a podcast on accessory work. There are times when accessory work is absolutely necessary. Slots of accessory work are fine, but not as a late novice, early intermediate. You don't need accessory work. You don't need to do curls. You don't need to do tricep push downs, tricep extensions. You don't need to do dips. You just need to do the 4 main lifts and pull-ups and get out of the gym. You don't need to do a prowler yet. You don't need to do air dyne. You don't need to do a rower. So none of that stuff.
Let me put a finer point on it. You said you don't need it. They are deleterious. They will harm your progress. Not only do you not need them, you shouldn't do them because we're focused on one thing at the time. You're a novice, trying to get really strong really fast. Let's not mess it up. Don't throw any monkey wrenches in. Don't overthink it. You're going to squat, you're going to press, you're going to deadlift. You're going to squat, you're going to bench press, you're going to deadlift. You're going to get strong, you're going to eat, you're going to repeat. 5 months from now, we might do some of that stuff.
Yeah, we will do some of that stuff.
If you're a
right?
cop, you're in the armed forces, you get physical fitness test or something, maybe we'll do something. But if you're not that guy, you don't do that stuff. It will stall your work.
There's a total amount of stress you have essentially available that you can use.
Right.
And I want to use the majority of that stress via barbell lifts.
Yep.
And if I'm wasting it, it's just the same thing. It's like a budget. If I'm wasting that stress on running 5 miles 3 days a week or on cocaine and hookers, which is more fun than running 5 miles 3 days a week, but it will be a detriment to your...
Also a cardiovascular...
Yeah, for sure. And a good diet drug.
So that one leads into the next ones, which are actually related. Thinking that you're special. Oh, well, if I do this, then I will have hacked the system and I'll get a better result, right? I'm a snowflake. I'm special.
Yeah, or
I can't squat
this
because,
way.
my tain's sore, whatever. We know some stuff about that.
Yep.
And you're not special in it.
No.
There are a few people that have mitigating circumstances, cerebral palsy,
Sure.
diabetes, congenital
Parkinson's.
Illnesses that must be considered.
Sure.
But if you aren't receiving funds from a nonprofit to benefit your treatment plan,
And even then, it doesn't guarantee it.
then you can do LP.
I get 5
As written.
emails a week. I have disc degeneration in my back.
I'm sure I do.
What will you do with me? What do you think we do with them? No, squat them and deadlift them like everybody else. That's what we do. Here's the deal. Novice linear progression and early intermediate training works for everybody. It doesn't matter what the end goal is. It doesn't matter if you want to do mud runs. It doesn't matter whether you want to be healthy for your grandkids or a competitive powerlifter or a marathon runner or a bodybuilder or anything else.
Right.
In the beginning, you just have to get strong. And everybody can get strong. We got 81-year-old Sybil strong.
Yep, she's 81 years old and she's done linear progression.
That's exactly right. She lifts heavier every time. She's got 81 years old. She has double hip replacement, knee replacement, all sorts of crazy stuff going on. She understands that she's not a special snowflake because she's got the right attitude in her brain. So if you think you're a special snowflake, if you think this stuff doesn't apply to you, that's a massive common pitfall. So
let's take this down for a second.
Okay.
There seems to be a preoccupation with their body, like how their body feels. And I really don't understand that. Like, to me, it's a utility. I've got just like I have a car, and just like I have a hammer, like I have things that I need to do.
It's a tool that must be worked.
But they're preoccupied with how their body feels.
Yep, we don't care.
And we want to be in touch with it enough that we don't injure ourselves and so on, and touch a hot stove or whatever.
Sure.
But at some point, I think that we have to recognize there's a duality, right? There's a me, there's a thing that's an experience to be me, which is actually different than what my lower back feels like.
Right.
Like, if my toe hurts, that's not me. I'm fine.
Right.
You understand? And so I think that part of this refining process you talk about is when we break that monad, when people identify closely with their body, like their body is their experience. It helps us break that.
You break free of your feelings.
Yes.
And you can just do what it is.
Yeah. You can have an out-of-body experience in your body when you're squatting, right?
Right.
You can sort of stand aside and be objective about what's happening and not necessarily focus on what your hamstrings feel like, your butt or your knee or your L5 or whatever.
Right.
I don't understand this somatic preoccupation. I think it probably has roots in trauma.
Sure.
I think if we talk to these young people that have this, I think if we, could hypnotize them and get the truth out of them, I don't know, there's abandonment stuff,
Sure.
I don't know, but it's rampant and it doesn't help them when they're training.
Yep.
Which leads us to the next thing.
Yeah, so we got 2 left.
Yeah.
One of the most important things that we have to teach somebody how to do, and one things that's almost impossible to do without a coach, is to learn how to grind.
Learn how to grind.
You have to learn how to grind. You cannot give up on the weights, which means, I always say this, people that have been coached by me,
You say give up on the weights. What does that mean?
I mean, like when you start to grind on a squat, you don't get to fail. That's not an option. You put the catch pins in there so that if your acetabulum explodes,
right,
the catch pins are there to catch your weight. Not because I'm going to fail a weight.
Right. Your programming's correct.
That's right.
And you used your fractional plates if you had to. So it's not too much weight.
That's right.
And your form's good because you got a
going
coach.
to grind
You're going to grind
through. You have to. You'll grind more at the end of your linear progression and about 4 to 8 weeks into Texas method or whatever the next program is than you'll ever grind the rest of your life.
Right.
But you have to learn how to grind. People that have been coached by me know that I say, I want 5 full seconds of strain. You don't get to pull for 1 second and set it down. Now, look, everybody is susceptible to this. I take video all the time. Somebody posts a video, they pull on it. A lot of times when a deadlift gets heavy, especially when it's like over 400 pounds, 500 pounds, somewhere there, it takes 3 seconds to pull the slack out of the bar.
Yep.
The bar bends enough, and you start pulling out, you're like, the weight's not going off the ground. The bar is still bending.
Yeah, you still stood up an inch and a half because everything was
That's
bending.
exactly right.
Yeah.
And so you have to give me 5 full seconds of strain, especially on a deadlift, right? Especially on a deadlift. But on anything, your body will adapt to the grind. So we come back to the stress recovery adaptation cycle. I need the stress of the grind in order to adapt. Okay, here's the deal. I can't press 400 pounds, obviously, right? My best press is 305. If I took 400 pounds out of the rack in a press position and I tried to press it for a half a second and racked it, would I get any stronger? No. But if I took 400 pounds out of the rack, which is still really heavy, let's say it's 350 and I can't do 350, and I press it as hard as I can and I grind on it for 5 seconds, will my body create some sort of adaptation to that weight? Yep. Yes. Now, can I press 350 the very next session? Probably not. It's a massive jump. But the point is this. Your body doesn't know if it hit the weight or not.
Right.
It just adapts to the grind. It just adapts to the grind, which means that if there is no grind, if you pull on the bar and put it right back down, you didn't grind. There's nothing to adapt to.
Yep. I think that there's a possibility that like a deadlift that you grind on for like a full 6 seconds and stops below the knee and you can't get it up, there's a chance that that's more valuable in terms of the stress, the recovery, and the adaptation than if you'd locked it out.
Then a 2-second PR.
Right.
Then you pull a PR in 2.5 seconds.
Right. If you stand up at 3 and lock it out,
of course there is. Yeah. The miss just throws your brain off.
Right.
This is why guys who are advanced powerlifter guys don't mind if they go 6 for 9 at a powerlifting meet and set big PRs. And beginners, we try to go in and we make them go 9 for 9 because they're not emotionally prepared to miss reps. The first time I ever pulled 700 pounds at a powerlifting meet, I opened with 700. I'd never pulled 700 in my life. Right. I opened with a PR. And everybody's like, why would you open with a PR? Because I'm coming only for 700.
Right.
If I pull 650, it's a weight. I don't care about it. I know I can pull 650. I'm pulling 700. You know what I did? I pulled the 700 and I tore a massive callus on my hand. You can actually see this video on YouTube. You see like Matt Reynolds callus tear deadlift, something like this. There's a bunch of views on it. I tore the callus. I can't get my ring off because I got married when I was 155 pounds and now I'm a lot bigger. And so I can't get my wedding ring off. Yep. And so the callus tore off. So I missed my opening attempt. So I retook 700 for the second, pulled it, no problem, and went to 725 on my third and pulled it above the knees and strained above the knees and set it back down. And so I went 1 for 3 on deadlift, and I was ecstatic because I pulled 700 for the first time. It was fine. Right now, I would never do that with a novice or early intermediate, so I'm not telling you guys to do that. I'm just saying you have to understand, like, my goal here is to get through the grind. If I pull 650, it's going to go fast. My body's not going to adapt. I've already pulled that.
I actually have a great deal to say about this that I have never heard anybody else say.
Oh, good. Okay, last one.
They just quit. They quit.
And I mean mental. They're mentally weak. There's 2 pieces of this. Number 1, this isn't cut out for everybody.
Yep.
Not everybody's made to do this.
Wait a minute. I think it's cut out for everybody. Not everybody's cut out for it.
Yeah, no, you're right. This works for everybody.
Yeah.
But there's an enormous group of people who just can't, they're just not mentally tough enough to do it. As a matter of fact, I had a talk with a client who was a nice guy who I thought was good. Obviously, won't call him by name. He was a 42-year-old investment guy, did personal investment stuff. Really likable guy. Got about 3 months in on linear progression and made tremendous progress from absolute beginner, right? Had 0 background.
Yeah, a guy will put 200 pounds on his squat.
Yeah, and that's about what this guy had put on. He had put on maybe 185 pounds on his squat, just exactly right, and it got really hard. And he quit. Because he just couldn't do it. He just wasn't ready. And I have 3 more of those guys right now. Out of those 3, 2 of those 3, and maybe all 3 of them will quit in the next month because they can't hack. They can't hack it. It's hard.
Yeah, they have like addict style coping skills. Well, I'm strong enough. That's strong enough. Right? They start rationalizing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm, whatever. Look, I'm the worst athlete.
You're the worst athlete I've ever coached.
Really? You think so?
No, not quite. I had a guy from Arkansas that, if he listens, he worked for ConAgra Foods.
Right.
I think ConAgra.
No, I'm way on the thin left edge of the bell curve.
You're definitely in the top 5 least athletic humans I've ever coached.
Yeah. And I don't care.
Doesn't matter. You're still pretty strong.
I just got to keep doing it. You know?
What are you going to do? Like, what are you comparing yourself to?
All I can compare myself to is what my log says,
And by the way, I mean, you're a middle-aged guy, almost dead at 43. Just kidding. So and you're squatting almost 400, right at 400. You're about to break actually, I think you could squat 400 right now. And you deadlift 500. Yeah. And that's pretty damn strong. As a matter of fact, that is strong enough. Right now, you're going to keep getting stronger because you're not going to be satisfied with 400 and 500. You want 450 and 550 or whatever. But you are strong enough. The problem is that we get a lot of guys that quit with a 255 squat. Yeah. And a 305 deadlift.
But I'm the worst.
Not strong enough.
And my opinion didn't stop till like 305 for me. And it's terrible in middle age, like deep middle age. Like it's ridiculous. So don't rationalize. You're not strong enough. Yep. Your mitigating circumstance doesn't. My 70-year-old mom with her, striker hip instead of squatting in the 80s. Yep. Never touched a barbell 26 months ago. Yep.
Yeah. And your wife is squatting 300 pounds. And my wife squats 350. And they're strong and they're in their 40s and had a bunch of babies.
And I also don't really care about anybody's numbers, actually. I really don't. You just, do you train 3 times a week and do you pull your deadlifts for 5 seconds? Yeah. When it gets hard on your squat, and you set it down, you better have crapped your pants. Right. The other day, I literally crapped my pants on a set of squats and my nose bled all over the place. Yeah. Like I was leaking from every end, and I did 2 more sets.
Yeah. That's what you got to do. There are 50% of the people listening right now who are turned off by it, and it's okay.
It's okay.
It's not for you guys.
Well, you know what? But you can do it, though.
Of course you can
I have faith in them. I know they can.
Is physically capable of doing this. There isn't a human barring some like insane problem, right? Like you've got like severe Parkinson's disease or whatever.
Hey, and that guy can squat his weight.
Still benefits from this.
And that guy can squat his weight.
That's right.
And he needs to, and I hope he does.
The problem is that there are lots of people who are too weak between the ears, not in the body, to do it, right? And so, man.
The more time I spend with this, I can see like these, seriously, I said it a while ago, like these addict-style bargaining behaviors in people that when it starts getting hard and they want to quit. And I think I'm going to have some observations and something very interesting to say about that soon. Yep. Because I think if we can help people recognize that bargaining behavior and recognize that rationalizing that addict that doesn't want to quit, right?
Early on.
Right. There's a person that's addicted to their comfort, right? There's a person that's addicted to not failing. Yep. And they will bargain to protect themselves from the failure and the pain that is coming from strength training. Yep. Because if you're doing it right, you will fail. Yep. If you're doing it right, you will push yourself to your limit 3 times a week for a while, and then once a week, and then once every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then eventually, once a year or whatever. But we do it, and we know we're going to fail, right? You look at the tiger and they don't want to do it. They're addicted to the comfort. They're addicted to winning, or at least not losing. Yep. And
it's too vulnerable. It's too vulnerable to fail. Right.
So we need to recognize that ourselves when that's happening and defeat it. And this is the easiest place to fix that, by the way, because when you get fired, that's no time to try to fix it. Like it's showtime.
Or your wife leaves you.
Or you get the tumor or whatever. Right. Let's do it in the lab. Like the lab is the gym. Yep. Let's do it there.
Really quick recap. So form can be screwed up. You don't have the right equipment. You don't have fractional plates, shoes, or belt. You're not eating enough. You're doing extra stuff outside of the gym, like you're running or you're doing CrossFit or you're doing mud runs or you're doing way too much. You think you're a snowflake. You think you're a special snowflake. You're not grinding. You haven't learned how to grind, or you just quit. Those are the reasons that people fail. So fight those pitfalls with everything you have and make the progress and get through the refining process, that voluntary hardship. It will make you better physically. It will make you better mentally. It will make you better emotionally. It will make you better socially.
If you don't think that you could do this and you think that you'll quit, I will help you.
Yeah, that's what we do.
I will help you. Yeah, I don't hate you for it. I will help you.
Yeah. You've been listening to Barbell Logic. This is Matt Reynolds. I'm at Reynolds Strong on all the social media. Scott is at Scott_Silverstrength. Yeah. That's right?
That's right.
We'd love to get a shout out from you on social media. Shoot us an email and tell us what you think of the podcast. Give us a review. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.